Thought I had a better angle. Alrighty, I'm just gonna mute myself for a second. Hi guys, my name is Addison. Hello, Amen 180, and I will be. This is story time. Please, if you're in the Discord, please join the story time voice channel, even if you're in the middle of the story. Alrighty, that was bad introduction, but whatever. I guess I will start. There once was a tomato named Bob who fell in love with a tomato named Penny, but Penny hadn't what? Is Penny?
Wait, did I say something?
Oh, I thought you did. But Penny hadn't ripened yet. She was too young to be picked. Some would say she was a little green, too green. So green she became ill. She came down with a sickness that disturbed Bob greatly. And so he vowed to make her a chicken soup so she can feel better. However, because he was lazy, he decided not to do it. By breaking the first rule of improv, which is never talk about improv, determined to do something, Bob racked his brain for a fun activity. He ultimately decided to find a cure for his true love sickness. Knowing he was a perfectly healthy GMO tomato, he turned to the dark art of science to find his answer. He went to his local Monsanto company laboratory and discovered a dark sorcery. Kaboom! There was an explosion. I guess could have done that really louder. Hey, Lancourse.
Hello, Lance.
That caused ants to mutate, which ultimately led to the start of World War III. Well, that would be interesting. The ants believed they had a legitimate claim to the Sudan, which made them paranoid of the tomato's power. Open conflict between ant and tomato kind was inevitable, and so it began. Cucumber, tomato, fly, ant. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then everything changed when the ant nation attacked. Only the tomato, master of all four elements, could stop them. But when the world needed him most, he vanished. 100 years passed, and my brother and I discovered the new tomato, a cucumber named Ant. And although his tomato skills are great, he still has a lot to learn before he's ready to save anyone. But I believe Ant can save the world. Unfortunately, due to the time of year, he caught a severe cold, only to die due to his extreme, god damn that's big word, susceptibility to the common cold. The world would need a new savior. Alternatively, the world was good enough as it was and everyone could ignore its problems. Until Bob came back to mess everything up and put the world back in danger. Bob had been planning this for decades. The destruction was immense due to all of his built-up anger and rage. And everything and everyone was covered by tomato juice. So when Bob started his attack, he slipped and fell on his nose. It bled intensely, leaving him a pile of even more tomato juice, which tasty which tasted oddly of ginger ale. Sadly, Bob's bleeding nose could not be stopped, and the room flooded with blood, leaving everything with a shiny new red coating, and thus was the creation. Thus was the creation of Bob's new company. He would paint any room you desired for all small fee provided you wanted the specific red shade. Bladed article to begin. Paint flow not included. However, word soon got out on his shady business practices. This was merely a money laundering business. This was Don Bob's legal front for his large mafia syndicate, but even such a successful criminal needs his money laundered. True. He tried going to a huge commercial money laundering firm, but unfortunately they were forcefully shut down. But then a mad scientist invented the Shinguin, and he saw his chance. He started a money laundering Shinguin breeding farm. That's like a half chicken, half penguin, right?
I have no idea.
And that's what Warden actually started. That's just that's weird. However, he soon realized that Chingwins were highly dangerous, so he fashioned a protective suit of anti-Chingwin material, but this showed this world how truly dangerous Chingwins are. As a result, they were quickly weaponized by the different governments of the world, and he could launder his money on his farm in peace. The governments were way too busy trying to weaponize Chingwins, but soon the riches he had amassed were becoming more and more suspicious to his neighbor. His neighbor, Nigel, the second-rate dancer, wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, or anywhere else for the matter. But he knew something was off. Nigel had worked it out. He put the pieces together in the only way that made sense in his tiny little mind. Bob was Elvis Presley.
Yes, Nigel, you've appeared. That's like my only attribution to this story. Nigel.
Alrighty. So Bob the Tomato stopped laundering money and started a business selling that weird ginger ale flavored tomato juice that he had discovered earlier. But disaster struck. Bob's supply of ginger ale flavored tomato juice was stolen by the cat named Hoppo. Oh, great. Now he's in the story again. Thank me later for forcing you into this story. This time it wasn't Hoppo that actually put him to.
It's me, the criminal genius who put Hoppo in this story.
Damn it, people. I apologise. Just one job. Don't mention Hoppo. Oh, someone joined.
Damien. Hey, Damien.
Hello.
Ready. Oi, that's my juice. Nigel was what one could call a lightweight. He found a way to get drunk without a drop of alcohol. Man, he should teach me that. That fateful day, he had had a little too much tea, three-fourths of a cup, if I remember correctly, and had a car accident which resulted in the abrupt death of one Hoppo. Thank me later for forcing him out of the story. Well, hi Hoppo, goodbye Hoppo. But by some miracle, Hoppo came back alive. Thank me later for forcing you back.
And he's back.
Oh my god. And realized he was taking life for granted. And realized he had done nothing with his life. So he left the city and decided to live alone in the countryside, where he moved into a small village being haunted by a witch. Unfortunately, this is a story about Bob, not Hopple, so the rest of his life, which would coincidentally be full of exciting and scintillating adventures is irrelevant while we focus on the more dull topic of Bob. Now back to Bob. Bob was a tomato who was destined for greatness, but he didn't know what. Chapter 2 is how far he got to Ulysses. That book is just too hard. Luckily, Nigel, a much simpler man, had suggested a book which became Bob's favorite ever. It was complex, engaging, and academic. Academic? I say academic. Its name, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Bob ironically got eaten by a very hungry caterpillar 2 days after finishing the book because the caterpillar from the book came alive and Bob tried to keep it as a pet, but forgot to feed it. Nigel was suddenly very confused. If Elvis had surprised once, maybe he would still be alive yet again, and thus he went to explore the late Bob's residence. He went to Bob's house. He found the caterpillar eating Bob. He didn't really care, but when he almost left, he saw the caterpillar dab, and he shot it a split second later in the face. Thank God, dabbing is stupid. And now Nigel is eating the caterpillar for dinner. He realizes after he ate it, he didn't cook it, and Nigel turned into a tomato. Makes sense. Luckily, Nigel was well versed in the sector of the universe. He knew if one was transformed into something one did not want to be in an unfortunate accident, all you had to do was not be it. Then you would be fine. Thus, Nigel became human again and went on his way. Although his methods only worked partially, and thus he was a human with the skin of a tomato, he renamed himself Bob. The two Bobs battled for the right to the name. Nigel's mother, however, had always been adamant that identity theft was a cardinal sin, up there with murder and putting one's feet on the table. And so he returned to full human, and his life as Nigel, the second-rate dancer, while the story got on with its merry way. But since he couldn't change back, Nigel's mother killed Nigel just to be sure that this thing wouldn't exist anymore. Bob was distraught at the fact that he had lost such a mighty opponent, and thus Bob, the tomato, passed away. What the hell? Hold on. Some reason. Ah. For some reason, the story just went right to the bottom. Mighty opponent.
Yeah, it's about that.
Ready. I don't know what just happened. Whatever. It's like the second time. Alright, anyway. And thus Bob, the tomato, passed away, half eaten by the caterpillar and completely distraught by the loss of Nigel. Nigel was confused. He was sure he had died. At least relatively sure. But yet, he was now also relatively sure he was alive. This was an odd time for Nigel. When they when they buried Bob the tomato, they forgot he was a tomato, and soon enough new tomatoes were growing. This had been Bob's evil plan all along. Let himself be killed to create clones of himself. But because he was so competitive, one clone killed all the rest, and he became Bob the second tomato. And everyone knows the rule. First is the worst, second is the best, third is the one with the lemon vest. However, as there was no third clone, all we were left with is the best. But it was not the best because the third would have had a lemon vest. So much rhymes here. So the second killed a lemon for his vest and became the best with a lemon vest. The third was envious of the best with his lemon vest that he decided to take matters into his own hands. So he made his own army of tomatoes, known as the Legion of the Blood Res Tomatoes. They would shoot tomatoes from their guns with pickled bullets inside the tomatoes for added damage. When his right hand, Lord Remington III, offered him advice on how to acquire the lemon vest, it was to go on a magical, thrilling adventure to Croydon to acquire the legendary Spork of the Apocalypse. And so he set out on his quest with nothing more than a will to implement Pooble into the story somehow. Shush, he told his split personality, not now. But yet, he still wanted to introduce Pooble to wonderful world of story time. He sat down on the ground and decided to have a stern talk with himself and his 15 personalities about what was the best next course of action. He decided to ask Mrs. Stainless for help. She said, "General, chat, okay?" He scoffed at the lackluster response, and he was notorious for being a rebel without a cause. He could speak where he wished, but one thing he would not do is abide by the rules. But fate was a fickle mistress. Already it had given him a date in which he could cease to be. He he also realized something. He proceeded to his giant, elegant red door, pushed down on the knob, and the old door creaked many times as if it were telling him how many years it's been around. He proceeded to open it, and bright light shine in the heavens. Then JJGB woke up. And then Bob killed Sayus. That escalated quickly. Sayus hadn't ever been heard of again, and he was buried alongside Bob's old grave. The end? Or is it? No, it was the end for Sayus, but nor for Bob, as he decided to go on an adventure with his friend, Jack the Brave Knight. But that is a story for another time. Right now, Bob returned to his home and split the night away. Bob was then woken up by a strange rock crashing through his roof. I'm pretty sure you guys putting reactions is what made it go right to the bottom. Hello there, said the rock. General Kenobi, cried out Bob while he coughed. The rock nodded and pushed Bob's head back down onto his. And apparently my mic wanted to turn off. The rock nodded and pushed Bob's head back down onto his cushion before retrieving an injection needle. It wouldn't. Injecting Bob with a purple fluid which caused Bob to take the high ground. Nigel was fed up. Today, he'd incorrectly realized his neighbor was Elvis, died, been resurrected, and now there were people making Star Wars jokes in his back garden. This had to be third or fourth in his weirdest days he'd experienced list. It probably had to do with that strange plant he ate earlier. The N, I guess. And that's it.
That was dramatic and exciting.
We need to turn it into a movie.
Yeah, we do. Maybe we'll get on licensing that.
Well, if any of you know how to actually do that, then sure.
Go for it.
Can I ask, how do you push down a knob on the door?
Magic.
You what?
How do you push down a knob as a door handle?
Magic.
That is
I
a
don't
good
know.
question.
Ask Sayers.
Yeah.
I guess it's like a
It made
magical
sense
door.
in his mind.
It's the only question that I have. Surely you turn the knob.
I mean, it could be one. It could be like a lever or handle.
Maybe you have
To
to push it down and twist it.
Maybe.
I mean, are we really poking holes in a story involving a tomato, a lemon, like a psychopathic tomato? For Christ's sake.
like to be honest, I really had trouble trying to like keep a straight face doing that.
Well, I'll have you know that was a serious story with Oscar-winning stuff and emotional moments, like when Nigel died but didn't die.
Very dramatic.
Yeah, for some reason people were trying to kill off Nigel. Made me disappointed.
Poor Nigel.
Thanks for reading it, Damon.
No
Yeah, it
problem.
was good.
It was
Pretty
fun.
awesome.
I'm gonna continue killing dragons now. See you.
Hey, land course.
Hello?
Yeah. Later on in the evening, I'm not sure when, but I was wondering if like you wanna play some Twitch RP. I might stream it.
Yeah, I'll probably be on later at some point anyway.
I'm not sure when, just because I'm going to the mall and I'm gonna get one of those flat caps.
Oh yeah.
And I will stream the video wearing the flat cap.
Interesting.
I don't know. The only reason why I want one is, as you know, is Peaky Blinders.
Quality.
And Warden's talking in the Twitch chat. I'm here, curse your terrible
saying,
Canadian
Warden?
time zone. Just gonna say this. Panna's accent is like 10 times better than Lance's. Ouch.
Thank you, Warden.
Who's Pana?
There you go.
Vanguard Panna. Vanguard. Yeah.
Where is this?
He's Warden's talking in my the Twitch channel, the chat.
Alright.
So he's on my side.
And apparently Panda's accent is better than yours.
I see.
You've been betrayed.
That's right.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to side with Lance on this one.
Damn it. I mean, I would as well, but
What
that
never
wasn't
does
backing me up. I'm a candidate.
compare the qualities of people, beards, accents. Everyone's beautiful in their own way.
But especially if they have a beard and they're Irish.
And he also says Chingwin, 10 out of 10, best part of the story.
It was.
And I'm putting my cat right in front of my webcam.
Ooh, cat.
Oh, you're watching it too.
I'm going to go back to being ill.
That is a
Well,
good
hope
idea.
you feel better.
I'm gonna follow you people. Goodbye, everyone.
See you. Thanks for coming. Alrighty. Alright. My name is Eamon180. Thanks for watching, and thanks for everyone that joined the server, and there will be another story time. Not exactly sure when, but there will be. So have a great day. And thanks Warden for coming late. I mean, I would have started at like a little later, at 10 o'clock my time, which would have been better for you too. But I'm going to the mall pretty soon, so I had to like start this early. I even had to like put alarm on for 7:20 in the morning here, just to be able to get ready for this. And it was fun. All right. Thanks everyone, and have a good one.